Welcome to another explainer. I am absolutely thrilled to guide you through today's topic. Have you ever stopped to think about what actually makes a country run day to day? Like, if a nation is a massive, complex vehicle, what exactly is the engine powering it forward? Well, today we're popping the hood on Part 7 of the Constitution to look right at that engine, the executive branch. We're going to decode how the highest offices function, who holds the levers of power, and how they all connect to steer the state. It's a fascinating, structured system, so let's jump right in. Here is our roadmap for today. We'll be covering 1. The President, 2. The Vice President, 3. The Cabinet, and 4. Ministers and provinces. Starting right at the top with Section 1, the President. Consider the sheer weight of this single sentence from Article 91. The executive authority of the state vests in the President. Notice how it doesn't say it vests in a committee or a parliament. It rests entirely on the shoulders of one office. This is a massive, powerful constitutional mandate. It makes the president simultaneously the head of state, the head of government, and the commander-in-chief of the defense force. It's a total consolidation of responsibility, deliberately designed to ensure decisive, clear leadership. But you can't just walk in off the street and sit in that chair, right? The Constitution sets out very strict, specific criteria an individual absolutely must meet just to qualify to run for this office. First, you must be a citizen by birth or descent, meaning a deep, foundational tie to the nation is simply non-negotiable. You also have to be ordinarily resident in the country, which ensures you're actually grounded in the daily realities of the people. You need to be at least 35 years old, bringing a presumed level of maturity and life experience to the table. And of course, you must be a registered voter yourself. It's a purposefully high bar, designed to filter for readiness and loyalty. So, once in office, what does the president actually do all day? Well, we can cleanly separate their actionable functions into two realms, domestic and foreign. On the domestic front, the president has the power to establish or even dissolve government ministries, initiate crucial bills for the National Assembly to consider, and confer national honors. But then flip over to the foreign side, and they become the ultimate representative of the state to the entire world. They appoint ambassadors, receive foreign diplomats, and carry the massive responsibility of negotiating and signing international treaties. It's essentially a dual-facing role, constantly balancing needs at home with the nation's posture abroad. Let's move on to Section 2, the Vice President. Before we look at their specific duties, we really need to understand how they get the job in the first place. The Constitution defines a running mate as a person selected to stand with a presidential candidate in an election. Now, this is crucial. It means they don't just get appointed after the fact by the winner, they arrive in office directly alongside the president. They share the exact same electoral mandate from the voters. Their legitimacy is tied directly to the ballot box, just like the president's. Now let's compare their day-to-day life with their fallback role. During normal operations, the vice president is highly subordinate. They answer directly to the president and perform whatever specific functions are assigned to them. Pretty straightforward. But the true genius of this constitutional design reveals itself during a crisis. If the president leaves the country, falls ill, or if the office tragically becomes vacant entirely, the vice president instantly steps up. They perform those executive functions or assume the presidency altogether. They are literally the ultimate constitutional shock absorber, ensuring that the engine of state never stalls, even for a single second. Which brings us to Section 3, the Cabinet. If the president and vice president are the drivers, the cabinet is the sophisticated navigation system plotting the strategic direction of the government. It's a collective body. It includes the president and the vice president, along with the appointed ministers. But take a look at that last crucial member, the attorney general. They sit in the cabinet as an ex officio member. That basically means they are in the room purely by virtue of their office to provide critical legal advice. They ensure that the strategic policies being cooked up by the politicians are actually solidly grounded in the law. And what exactly are they cooking up in there? The cabinet acts as the central processing gear of the entire government. Before any major policy sees the light of day, it has to be approved here. They approve government bills before they are ever introduced to the National Assembly. They approve the national budget before it's debated. They're the ones who formally recommend international treaties and, crucially, recommend state loans and guarantees. And because they take collective responsibility for these massive decisions, it means they have to debate fiercely behind closed doors but emerge with a single, unified government direction. Finally, let's look at Section 4, Ministers and Provinces. Once the cabinet sets the direction, someone actually has to execute it. These are the vital wheels on the ground. But before we break down their roles, I want you to just hold the number 90 in your mind for a second. In constitutional law, numbers are rarely random. They usually represent a very specific, deliberate procedural safeguard. And this shows exactly how the Constitution is a living, breathing set of rules. Under the brand new 2025 Constitutional Amendment Act, we see a really fascinating new twist. The office of a minister now becomes vacant exactly 90 days before a general election. So why does this matter? Well, it's an incredible mechanism designed to completely separate state power from electoral campaigning. By requiring ministers to step down 90 days prior, it ensures a level playing field as the nation transitions into an election season. Nobody is using a government office to campaign. It shows that the engine of the state is constantly being tuned and refined for better performance. So, when they are actually in office, what are these ministers doing? The Constitution creates two very distinct types of ministers to ensure power flows efficiently from the capital all the way down to the local level. On one side, you have the national minister who sits in the cabinet. These are the high-level strategists. They're responsible for the overarching policy direction of massive sectors, think health, education, or finance. But a national policy is totally useless if it doesn't actually reach the people, right? That's where the provincial minister comes in. They are the head of government in a specific province. Their job is highly localized, hands-on execution. They ensure that the grand strategic vision from the capital is actually implemented in the specific districts and wards where citizens live and work. And that brings us to the end of our breakdown. We've seen how executive power flows from the solitary authority of the president, through the supportive role of the vice president, right into the strategic minds of the cabinet, and finally out to the ministers on the ground. The Constitution explicitly states that sovereign power is reserved for the people, but it is executed on your behalf by these exact structures. So, I'll leave you with this. How well do you know the engine driving your state? Understanding these gears isn't just a fun exercise for lawyers, it is the absolute foundation of being an informed citizen. Keep asking questions, keep looking under the hood, and I'll see you in the next explainer.